Welcome to Public Cloud, Private Cloud, Single Pane of Glass. Hi, my name is Rick Powell. I'm a Senior Solution Architect with Virtual Internet. Let's take a look at some of the topics that we'll be covering. First, we're going to define a few terms so that we're all on the same page. First, we're going to look at what a private cloud is, and then we'll look at what a public cloud is, and then third, we'll look at a hybrid model or a mixed environment. And then we'll discuss why people are moving and why you should move to the cloud. And then we'll look at ways that you can secure your private cloud, and then also ways that you can secure your public cloud. And then we'll look at different tools and methods for managing your cloud. And last, we'll look at how you can manage your cloud through a single pane of glass. Let's go ahead and get started. So first, what is a private cloud? A private cloud is a virtualized environment within an organization. So this would be a company that has a data center, and in their data center, they have a virtualized environment such as VMware, Hyper-V, or Xen. And they're utilizing the virtualization technology in such that they're taking what used to be separate servers, a separate file server, mail server, accounting server, CRM server, internet server, and database server, and instead of each of those being separate servers, physical servers, they're now running those servers in a virtualized environment. So instead of having 6 physical servers, they're now able to accomplish the same thing and run those same applications, those same environments on 2 or 3 servers attached to a shared storage. So a private cloud to me is an internal cloud to an organization or an internal virtualization platform. Next, a public cloud is kind of the same, but instead of internal to an organization is the cloud infrastructure or all of the workloads, the FTP server, the web server, the application server, the database server, instead of those residing internal to an organization, is they reside externally to some hosting environment or some data center remotely. So this would be a definition of a public cloud, workloads that reside outside the internal data center. And a hybrid model represents an organization or a company that uses a mixed environment. They do have an internal data center within their organization, and inside that data center they're running some form of a virtualization platform, and they may be running workloads such as the file server, mail server, accounting, and so forth internally. But then externally is they have partnered with a hosting company like Virtual Internet to house some of their external or public workloads, such as their FTP server, web server, application server, database server, and that's running up in a cloud infrastructure. So why is virtualization, or why is the cloud becoming so popular? Well, you probably already know a number of reasons. If you're currently running an internal virtualization platform or an internal cloud, you already recognize some of the benefits that the virtualization platforms provide you, some of which is better utilization of hardware resources. Instead of having those 6+ servers, each running on a physical device, a physical server, and each of them running at 10 to 20 to 50% utilization, now you can consolidate all those workloads on fewer servers and get higher utilization out of the hardware and your investment in the hardware. Next is lower power consumption. Again, you're not running as many physical machines in a virtualized environment, so utilizing less power. Ease of future hardware upgrades. Because each of the workloads or the operating systems that are running, because they're abstracted from the physical hardware, it makes it very easy to migrate to newer hardware in the future. It's simply just porting or copying over that workload to run on that new virtualized platform hardware. Another advantage that the virtualization and cloud environments provide you is an easy migration of live running virtual machines to another server. So in the event that one physical server goes down, the workloads that were running on that physical server will be migrated to another server. Automatic load balancing of workloads. So most of the cloud infrastructures or virtualization platforms have the ability to distribute the load amongst all of the different nodes or physical servers within its infrastructure, within its cluster. Next is high availability. As we mentioned, if a physical machine within the cloud infrastructure goes down, all the workloads that were running on that physical machine, those workloads can be migrated over to another physical machine and started up and resume. And last, some of the cloud infrastructures support fault tolerance in such that there's two virtual machines running and they are running identical. So anything that happens to one happens to the other almost instantaneously. So in the event that one virtual machine goes down or a physical machine goes down, there's another virtual machine that's identical to the one that was running, and it will pick up without any loss of data, without any downtime at all. One way is to implement a firewall, and a firewall is implemented to protect your data from being accessed externally. And in some cases, you can have internal firewalls that can also help protect your data from being accessed by certain internal organizations that may not need to have access. Another method is to set up VPN connections between sites so that all data that is transmitted from site A to site B is all encrypted, it's all secure. Also is to implement backups. I'm sure we're all doing that, making sure that all of our data resides in multiple locations. We also want to keep our security patches up to date within our operating systems, as well as our infrastructure, as well as our applications, making sure that we're locking down all the security vulnerabilities that may exist. And we also want to make sure that our servers reside in a controlled area where there's controlled and limited access, so that just anybody can't walk in and go over and take a tape or copy information off of a server. So if that's how you protect your private data and your private cloud, how is it that you should protect your public cloud and your public data? Well, probably the same methods, by implementing a firewall. Talk with your vendor about what ports need to be open and make sure all other ports are closed. Do security vulnerability checks and scans. There's various vendors out there that will help you with this. Also consider setting up a VPN connection between your data center and your provider's data center. Also work with your provider, making sure that backups are being done and how backups are being done, making sure that your data is protected. Also work with your vendor, make sure your vendor is providing security patches on a regular basis, not only to the internal infrastructure, but also to the operating systems, and then working with you on keeping patches to the application up to date. Then also talk to your vendor about secure access to the server room and how access is given out. So how is it that you manage your cloud? Well, there are several different utilities and methods used by various providers to help you in managing your public cloud infrastructure, your public cloud workloads. One method is for those VMware platforms that you use utilities such as vSphere Client, which is a Windows client that allows you to manage and control and monitor your workloads. Another method is CLI, command line interface. So from a command line, being able to execute commands to deploy new workloads, set up new workloads, and monitor workloads. There's also web-based utilities, such as VMware's vCloud Director. There are tools available for those that are using Hyper-V, the Hyper-V tools. So various different options for managing your cloud infrastructure. Next, we're going to walk through a demonstration using a tool from VMware called vCloud Connector, which I thought was a pretty kind of cool tool. And we'll look at how we can use that to manage not only our public cloud, but also our private cloud, and to transfer workloads that exist in our private cloud out into our public cloud. Let's take a look. Okay, here we are in the vSphere client, and I'm just going to go and show you just some of the workloads and some of the virtual machines that I have defined. Okay, so you can see that I have my virtual center. I also have vCloud connector installed and configured already. And then I have a number of other virtual machines, and you'll notice that these virtual machines are not yet running. I'm going to come back to the home screen. And back here on the home screen, you'll see down here under Solutions and Applications, this is where vCloud Connector shows up. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the vCloud Connector. And again, I have already gone through the processes of adding my external or my public cloud. So currently, the view that I showed you just a minute ago of all my workloads, that would represent my private cloud environment. That would be my internal infrastructure, my internal virtualization environment, all my workloads for my company. And as I mentioned, as I just went through and added the public cloud, which this public cloud is pointing to a vCloud director connection. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus, and we'll click on the plus here, and you can see that I have an account or a cloud or an organization out on vCloud Director that's called iCell Cloud. This represents my public cloud. And then if I expand out my private cloud, this is my company, Acme. And as I highlight Acme, you'll see over on the right-hand side, there's all the workloads and that are currently installed and configured in my public cloud, or my private cloud. So at this point, what I can do is I could build a new workload that I want to push out to the public cloud. I can build that, test it out, make sure that it's all working the way that I want it inside my private cloud. And when it comes time to push it to the public cloud, I'm going to come up and grab this Windows, and I'm going to, let's say that I want to push that now out to the public cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on it. I'm going to come down and choose Copy To. And I don't want to copy it as far as the target location, the target cloud. I don't want to put it back onto my private. That's where it exists. So I want to copy it out to the public cloud. And because of the information that I've already configured, it knows how to connect to the public cloud. So I'm going to give this a name, New Windows, and New Windows Server, and it's going to put it out in that location in my public cloud. I don't believe I have I don't have a catalog yet, so I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to select the network that I want to assign this particular workload in. This is the network that resides out on the public cloud. So I want to assign it the iCell Cloud network. And then I'm just going to have it publish it as a template out in that public cloud. And then once it's a template and I get it out there, then I can deploy it as a virtual machine. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now that the copy is finished, we can now go over and launch vCloud Director. So we can right click, choose Launch VDC, the vCloud Director, and go ahead and log in. Now when we come over to Catalogs and Templates, we now see our new workload that we just copied over from our private cloud. Now in conclusion, as you look at your private cloud and your public cloud through a single pane of glass, there's two takeaways. One is that you treat your public cloud as just as though it's your private cloud, meaning you protect it the same way, or you work with your vendor to protect it the same way. Implement a firewall, make sure you're doing backups, make sure you keep all the security patches up to date, not only with the infrastructure, but as well as the operating system, as well as your application. The other takeaway is that there are utilities out there that allow you to manage both the private cloud and your public cloud through a single pane of glass. And you may consider taking a look at some of those to make your administrative life much easier. Thank you for joining this video from Virtual Internet. Thank you.